Yes.
Is there an extra draft for someone in the peanut gallery?
I think so.
Once they go around, we can see.
Thank you.
Guess that's it. Each one the same.
Yeah, I think they're just stacked up.
Are we expecting Greg?
We thought so.
I think that's it. There you go.
So I have given Attorney Cranston the same documents that you're getting.
Page 2 of this.
Okay.
Is an extra copy?
I think so.
2 extra copies here.
Oh, great, thank you. I just want one.
Hold on, does Jim have
One
one and
for,
Paul?
actually,
I believe
that's
I
true.
have one.
I'm all set.
Paul, I think he's got one already.
You have one, Jim?
So we got one extra set
He has it.
for Greg and then
Yes?
one extra.
Yes,
believe
he
so.
already
Okay,
has
so-
it. So Mr.
Okay, if Greg
Mr.
shows up, we'll
Lipson
need
can
a
get one,
copy
but
for
we need
him.
one, of course, for
I mean,
Then
Sam.
let's hold that,
Okay.
Sam? Okay.
Yeah, Sam sounds good to me. Mr. Lipson's my father.
right, because that one's
Okay.
for the record, right?
Yes.
So we don't have an extra copy at the moment unless Greg doesn't show up.
Can we get one made for me?
Well, why don't you just use this one until if Greg shows up? That's fine.
Okay.
If Greg
all
shows
right.
up, I'll make
Hey,
a copy.
You're very organized.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Did the one you gave Paul have those notes on his?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll just go ahead and make one for Greg.
I can
now.
take care of it. I'll do it.
What I'm suggesting is that we take the agreement that Mr. Cranston prepared and then
Okay.
incorporate different sections of the Town of Webster agreement in it. And then I have some additional items after that. had another handout, I thought I'd given it out already, but,
Okay.
was the original of this floating around somewhere?
I think I've seen that one.
Is that the email from Sue?
Yeah, I made some notes, I can just keep the copy, but it's great. Let's see. Let me just make some more here.
Want me to make those?
Hey, Greg.
So you're gonna make copies?
That was
6:30.
Right.
I got home at 6:05.
Oh, you got close.
How about, four more?
Sure.
Are you gonna make copies of this?
Nope, I'm all set.
Oh, okay, thank you. Hi, Greg.
Hello.
Oh, man. Wait a minute.
Oh, right ahead. Thank you.
Sounds good. Around, I guess.
What I did, Greg, was to take the one that Attorney Krantz going to prepare, this one here, and I added some items from the Webster agreement noted in the margins. The Webster, so. And I noted that Matt had suggested a different arrangement, which I did not include in the handout. Perhaps he can talk to you about that when we get to that point.
Okay.
Leverage the percentage.
Yeah.
I think Greg is proposing 2%.
We looked at
If they
different
know
methods
revenue
of
as well.
valuation.
Or at least that percentage, 8%.
How do we want to start working through this?
I guess I would ask, are you all set, Greg?
Yep.
Okay, everybody else, I guess I'd ask Jim if you had any comments on the agreement as it's put forth, or suggestions, or,
I'm gonna probably defer to Phil a little bit. He's done the lion's share of the work on this. He's collected up a bunch of host community agreements that
Mhm.
he's gone through. He's picked out one that he, I would say, favors or finds more appropriate to the situation here. Attorney Cranston also prepared a draft of a host community agreement.
mhm,
And Phil went the next step and went through Attorney Cranston's and made a couple of notes on it as to things he thought could be modified to make it a little bit more palatable. I've seen, I don't know if I've seen all inputs that the board got or were sent to the board or sent to the administrator. Some of them were in a way not quite applicable, and though sometimes interesting. But, I think Phil appropriately, I think, narrowed this down to what we were dealing with here and what the proposal is. And I think that if you review, I think he gave you the two handouts. One is Attorney Cranston's proposal.
Yep.
I don't know if it's labeled in somehow that way.
Well, one's Town of Barry and one's Town of Webster.
Right.
So at the very top, it
Right.
says that, so.
And the one that says Town of Barry is from Attorney Cranston, the one that says Webster is the one that Phil found was, he felt more, slightly more appropriate. I don't think there's a big drastic difference between the two, to tell you the truth.
I think a lot of the stuff that's in the Town of Barry one came from the Town of Webster one.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So,
A lot of the language looks an awful lot similar.
if I might make a suggestion.
Yep.
What time don't you have another meeting you have to go to?
7.
At 7.
Okay.
Yeah, we have
Another half
finance,
hour.
but
We've got 31 minutes,
Yeah.
so why don't we look at my agreement, look at Phil's comments, and go through them as quickly as possible, otherwise we're gonna be here
Mhm.
all night. So, does everybody have the Town of Barry
Yep.
one in front of them?
Yep.
Can we do that?
Let me say this, Faye might have to leave, but we can continue. It's the finance committee, and we're just attending their meeting, so
Where is the Finance Committee meeting?
it's gonna be
Here.
here, but we'll deal with that river when we get to it, okay? We'll probably go upstairs, right? Yeah, if we're still going. Hopefully it will be resolved. Okay. Okay.
So who wants to take the lead? The second paragraph of mine, Phil has two comments. He says, it's hard to read, but it looks like number 2 Webster and number 4 Webster. So Phil, if you have a comment about those two, why don't you say what it is so we can keep this thing moving?
All right, your comment, Paul, I mean, do we want to specify the way you have it here? Or shall we just say number 2 in the Webster agreement plus number 4?
I wrote Barry's for the way we discussed Barry's situation. I don't know what the deal is. In Webster, I incorporated a little bit of the Webster language in ours. I broke out the 25 and then the 5 that Matt had asked for. And this it's a work in progress. We're not gonna have a program set up. We don't even know how to administer it, and the funds won't be there for quite some time, for God's sakes. It's gonna take forever to get the thing up and running. So we can work off of this and then put something in place. So I don't see, honestly, I don't see anything wrong with the language that I have in mind. It's different, but basically every agreement is different depending on who your counsel is going to be and who's preparing. So I put in there that it's at your discretion. So if you decide that the health and wellness program isn't working, you can apply the funds towards whatever you see fit.
Right.
So I like the language. It gives you an idea of what we wanted to have put in there. And if you, at some point, whatever the constitution of the board is in however many years, they can do what they want.
I think in Attorney Cranston's proposal, in number 2's last sentence, I think that's the concern that I think Phil had, that Barry may expend the above referenced payments at its sole and absolute discretion. I think that covers what I think came up at the prior meetings for the board. Could we use, in that number 2, we used the word gift. In the number 1, is that the money that is the gift? The 25 and 5?
What are we talking about?
Your number 1 before that, CPC shall pay 25 and 5, is the, or 30 total. Is that the gift? The 30?
Why, is there something else I should know about?
No, I just was suggesting that we might throw the word gift also into number 1 to clarify
Like
that.
CPC shall pay a gift
How
to
about the
Barry.
purpose of the gift as set forth in number 1?
Okay, or just call it a gift in number 1, whichever way.
I'd
don't think
like
there's
it
any-
more clear
I don't think there's any
as
dispute.
set forth in number 1.
So before I really screw everything up, I would like an opportunity to throw out a different thought I had with this. What I was thinking is, there is a certain benefit for CPC to be able to allocate monies to a charity directly without us being involved. One, there's no bid process and all, they can just say, you get it. And it allows them to just choose any local charity or group that they think they want to give money to, and they can do it. Whether it's a specific respite care program, or individual doctors, or a health clinic, or whatever they want, they can do it. And we don't have to have municipal rules and regs in the way of it. What I would think, why I'm bringing that up, is taking the 30,000 and putting 15,000 to Barry, 15,000 to a local charity or organization that supports health and welfare of their choosing. But then I would ask for a percentage of gross revenue. You don't even know what I'm asking.
It's not on the table. It's a deal breaker.
Then the deal's broken.
That's
Why is that?
Because.
1/4%, you wouldn't give 1/4% to this town.
Let me ask you a question.
I'm asking.
Okay. Insight Meditation Center.
Yeah.
Nonprofit? What do they give to the town?
They don't have it, they have a whole different market.
What do they give to the town?
There's a market
What do
set
they-
for this.
Answer my question, please. What do
They
give?
gave us 25, 29,000 this year?
29,000.
Okay. They pay taxes?
No.
Okay, so we pay taxes, and we're giving you $30,000 a year, and you want our gross income, gross revenue. Do you ask them for their gross revenue? Have you gone to them?
The two are in
How about
different
Stetson?
markets.
How about Stetson?
Two different economic markets.
Fine, how about Stetson?
Same thing, two different economic markets.
What
They
does
don't
the
apply.
economic market got to do with anything? I'm talking about what.
You
the
have something
town
to
pays.
sell.
They.
Stetson
Oh my
doesn't.
God, they don't, do they make money?
I'm telling you, the state of Massachusetts has created a market. That's
You-
why, how many host agreements
Does
did
the
we
Insight
have to
Meditation
review?
Center make money?
I am not saying they don't make money. They make
Does
money.
Stetson make money?
I would
Does
get-
They have revenue
Bill,
from somewhere, or they wouldn't,
yes,
I agree.
Damn straight they do.
But I am speaking to the fact they are not in the same market.
I don't care what.
Why are
How
you
about
bringing
the
them into the
pharmacy?
discussion?
Because they're a non-profit entity, just like my client, but.
But
my
across
client pays
Massachusetts,
taxes.
there aren't host community agreements for those type of businesses.
What's that got to do with anything? So
That's
you-
comparing
so-
apples to apples, not apples to oranges.
No, you don't have to do a host community agreement with my client.
No, I'm saying that is the market.
You
That's
don't
what
have- you don't
towns
have
are
to do
doing.
it. You don't have to do that.
Oh, I agree, there's a lot we don't have to. I'm putting it on the table that I think it is in the town's best interest, and it is not
Wow.
overburdening CPC
You-
to
I
make
guess
this
you really-
request.
You really don't know that, though, do you? You don't know what their financial situation is.
I
If
didn't
you take
s-
2% of their gross revenues and they don't have any net revenues, where are they gonna pay you from? Net revenues.
I am just
Huh?
putting it on the table. I have seen
I
a,
think it's probably.
Every
a deal breaker.
percentage
If
out
you
there
wanna-
is-
Let's stop talking about that, because I think it's a deal breaker without talking to my client.
and I do understand
So
that.
let's move on to that. Let's move on
I
to
just
the
wanted to
next
put it on the table. That's why I asked.
one. Okay.
And I was spinning to give you the other 15,000 to choose where you want as well as part of
That's
that.
not an issue to us. What is done with the money, we told you what we wanted to do with it. So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter to us whether we give it to a charity, you give it to a charity. It's money that we're willing to provide. Okay, so that's not something that is a bonus to my client, okay? So
If you don't
the
want
percentage
to
thing.
show it that way, you can, it could still be a bonus to your, depending on how you choose to use it.
Can I get the other two selectmen's input on that, please?
I think, yeah, you wanna go first? You-
Certainly. One of the things I did talk about the first time I went here, I talked about different ways of getting some revenue for the town for this. And when I brought all these up, you seem to have your concern, we're not gonna do all those things. And I said, I don't expect to do all those things, but I expect we'll find something that gives the town some revenue. First time I forgot to shut that off.
Don't get me wrong, I had to say gross revenue because you're a not-for-profit.
The caregivers donation, I don't know where that came from originally, I don't know where the thought was from it, where
Came
it's,
from them.
well, I'm just saying, I don't know where it came from. But I'm looking at it as in the town's perspective. We've talked about trying to develop more business in town and grow business in town. And that really does two things. It brings some jobs in town, hopefully, which this would do. And it would bring, hopefully, some tax revenue to the town to help our town with income. It would also hopefully bring tourism and people to town. And I would expect in any business that we want to invite into the town, there would be something in it for the town. That the town would make some money, some way to help with our expenses in the town. It's just something to benefit the town, as well as obviously benefit the owners of the facility. I didn't think a straight percentage of annual fee was outrageous, and I've seen some of the other towns have, high percentages, and they rise every year, and many other things. And they have cash stipends and percentages, and we're not talking about doing all those things.
Some of them have none,
I
and some of them have no percentages.
I
I'm
haven't
telling you,
had
so-
those percentages yet.
So you're in favor of the money and the percentage?
I'm in favor of something for the town.
Because
I
that's
think
not
it's-
what I heard at the meeting last time we were here a week ago.
I think it's great if you want to give something charitable
I
to the
understand
caregivers,
I understand where you're coming from.
But the.
On
I
the
would-
new thing to the table is what I'm
I
sorry.
would be the last one to sit here and say, we're gonna take the money from the caregivers for the town instead. If you wanna make a donation to the caregivers, that's fantastic. I wouldn't wanna touch that money. But I don't see that as having anything really to do with something for the town.
So,
I would like to see something in it for the town monetarily. We're not talking about trying to make $1 million to the town. But I would expect to see, I don't know what real property tax is gonna be there. I would expect, $4,000 annually, $5,000. I would just, I'd render a guess.
$2.5 million facility. It's gonna be 25 to 30,000. So let me address.
Well, I've
that.
had no estimates given to me in the value of this facility.
It's on all the material,
Yeah.
Greg. Come on. We're a month and a half into this. The HCA, as I said before at the meeting, is to offset any issues caused by this facility being in your town. So, first of all, there's been no evidence that it will cause a problem. It won't cause extra police detail. It won't cause a fire hazard. You won't have children going into the schools. It doesn't cost money. This is a net win for this town right off the bat, just with the taxes, never mind the $30,000 that they're offering you. So the HCA, really, the purpose of it is because, like for the dispensaries, if you're having retail dispensaries, you might have problems, you might have issues, you've got more, especially in the cities like Worcester, Springfield, that's the issue there. The rest of this stuff is just plain extortion. This is ridiculous to suggest that we have to, you guys, you're saying, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You say, yes, we want business coming into town, but we really need to make you pay just to set up a facility in our town. Why is
No,
this
I
facility
didn't
any different
call it
than
out
any
just to
other
make you
commercial
pay.
business?
I did not call that out just to make you pay.
Quite frankly, I think trying to describe income for the town, which the government always taxes people as extortion, is a bit extreme.
No, I'm talking about the HCA, not taxes. I'm talking about this
Okay.
is extortion.
Okay.
Okay?
The fact that it's a nonprofit, obviously, there's profit for people. It's considered nonprofit because it's
Couldn't agree more.
medical.
Couldn't agree more.
So, the fact that it's nonprofit limits taxation, limits how the town could receive money.
How?
Unless we have an agreement
How?
up front.
No, that's not true. We're paying full real estate taxes. What other taxes are they not paying?
Sales tax. because you're nonprofit.
They would pay sales tax if they do retail. That's just the way it is
No,
everywhere.
he's saying the nonprofit situation prevents us from having a sales tax, is all he meant. Because you're a medical industry, that's what you asked, he was saying, that's what we don't get because you're nonprofit, is sales tax.
You would get sales tax if there was a on-site retail, which we are agreeing not to do at
Right.
your request.
Right.
So if you want us to have an on-site retail and you can get taxes from sales.
We did not
do
say
that.
you couldn't be a dispensary, we said people can't do walk-up service. So you can still sell from there and deliver to anybody's house, anything you want to sell, anywhere in
Non-retail,
Massachusetts. So it's not a not dispensary, and it's not a not retail. It's a not walk-up service.
No, we consider.
You
that
can,
retail.
you can
That's
sell
okay.
fine
All right.
processed.
6-1/2 does, yeah. I think we're
It's a
getting
different,
on track.
and all I meant is it's different between wholesale and retail is the level of processing. You can process that to whatever level you want in there, no regulation from the town. And you can sell it to anybody you want. The only regulation is they can't walk up to buy it. And that's all I wanted to clarify, because I didn't want a misunderstanding either in this. We're not saying you're not a dispensary.
We are, it's in the name, right?
Right, but I mean,
Marijuana
like the
dispensary.
Webster one and the Amesbury one, some of these actually say you're just a cultivation and processing. We're not limiting you to that, we're just limiting the drive-up traffic.
Okay, let me,
And you're eliminating drive-up.
That's it, the walk-up to the door purchasing opportunity. But that doesn't mean they can't sell to anybody else the same product by bringing it to their house.
You know, we could just keep it at the 30,000 and just have the inflation adjustment as number 3, that's in the Webster agreement.
well, I think we ought to keep the respite agreement the way it's drafted in the hands of the town, and then the town can come up with a plan to dispense the money, whether it go to a nonprofit or whatever. It keeps the option open for the town to, we don't know what they're gonna have down the road. And I personally, on this one, don't really favor the percentage. I would if you were doing the recreational issue. That's a whole different situation in my mind. And I would, I've been read through this, it seems to have covered most of the things that we have discussed. And when we get to the recreational, and I'm sure they'll have the regulations, then it's gonna be pretty clear. Now, some of these, I think, we're going down the road of recreation from, all I know is what I read in the papers. But I don't know, but that was my opinion. I don't know if they're equated to some or not. If anything, it's probably closer to 7 Hills, if it's anything. But my opinion is we leave the percentage of the gross off at this point. That would be my opinion.
Would this satisfy the, I'll call them, difference of the approach? And I think Charlie may have hit on it. If it became, and it very well may because of the way the state law is written, able to become a recreational marijuana facility, it would then pay a percentage on its sales.
Well, I think it would then have to come back and go through the
We'd
process.
renegotiate
At that
the
point, do
terms.
Right, and I think
a
that's-
separate one for that
Yeah,
particular facility.
that would be my opinion,
Right.
but we're not dealing with that right now.
Right.
Could we incorporate something that says, if it does,
That's silly, because you don't
You
even know
come
what it's
back
going to
to
do,
us-
and you don't know what the economy is going to be. You
No, no,
might
no.
want to do,
just a renegotiations at that point as to a provision for, if it became a recreational sales facility, that it would come back to talk to the town about revising the agreement as to a possible percentage.
There's some,
Not defining it, not narrowing it down to a specific amount, but just moving that the door was there, that would open that up and discuss it at that point.
in their language in the one that passed on the ballot, that there's percentage
Yeah.
breakdown as it is. I've got a
Okay.
feeling it may be raised, but we've already got some provisions for that.
Well, it seems like that's where they're heading, but they haven't headed.
They haven't done it. I understand, that's not our problem.
Maybe
But they-
revise number 3. that says, and is a nonprofit organization operating, and then add a second sentence. If CPC so chooses, or if this facility so chooses to pursue recreational
Where did I see that?
cultivation,
He's adding
they will-
number three.
come back to the town and revisit negotiating the terms of this agreement.
It's already in here.
Number 6 has got it.
It's already number 6,
Is it in number 6?
pretty much.
In the event that laws
Just doesn't say what happens.
permit us,
Oh, I gotcha. Yep.
we'll come back to the Commonwealth and Barry and operate business in compliance with all laws and regulations. I would presume at that point you'd have something in your town bylaws regulating rec and hopefully requiring
Yeah, maybe something in
a
the state, so,
negotiation of what the supposed to be.
yeah. Sam, you had a comment?
Now, it would seem to me, just as a non-involved person, that the town should be pretty grateful that this group wants to come in and begin some sort of a business process where we don't have anybody coming in and bringing business process. And on top of that, paying the town $30,000 plus taxes. I mean, if we're working so hard on this particular company, we should be working triple hard on Stetson School. They're costing us hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're just sitting around playing with our thumbs, not knowing how to address it. And this company comes in and wants to do something good. I think you guys need to get down on your knees and be grateful that there's this opportunity, because business, if it gets too difficult, it's not like that's in school where they come in and take over. When business gets too difficult, they'll go someplace else, and then we'll be sitting around and we'll say, well, we made the agreements too difficult, we made it too onerous, we made this, we made that. We should rethink about being open. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am, it was discussion. I am not ungrateful for the opportunities that they're proposing, but it's a negotiation. We gotta ask the questions we gotta ask.
Yeah.
So that isn't intended to knock you guys for your offer and just
And once again.
Business, I'm sorry.
We haven't got to sit down amongst ourselves and talk about this. We can't. This is the only chances we have to talk about it. So when you hear things, no matter how they sound, this is the first thoughts come out of our mouth on it. We don't get a chance to discuss this. This isn't like we can sit down, you can certainly sit with Dean and have hours of conversations. We can't do that.
not without
It
your
makes it-
input.
It makes it very difficult, because we know it wants to be timely, and we know everybody wants to get through it, but it's frustrating to not be able to discuss something and work through it and collaborate with the three of us to decide what we do want to ask for. So you're going to hear all of our opinions all at once. Probably most of them will get thrown out the door, but don't get so fired up when they come out, because they don't know what my thoughts are, and I don't know what theirs are yet. And they're going to seem like a mountain coming on, and we certainly don't expect that everything that we say is going to come to fruition here.
Okay, Jim, you were gonna say something, I know. You were, well, anyway.
I had that look.
Yeah, you did, well, I think you said something that you wanted to.
Number
Well, I
four, that's what I'd say.
I think as to the raising the question of the percentage, I think, to put it, the time and place for that's probably if and when it becomes a recreational facility. And then it's appropriate, it's gonna be covered under whatever the state comes up with. And we're gonna know what we can do, and we will have adopted, like Paul said, some town bylaws, and it would be incumbent on us to now be able to go back and address that with this outfit, this facility, and not have it treated as a pre-existing.
Well, and the other possibility is, you know, the difference between talking about percentage of gross versus net would be huge. And like I said, if there's no net, then a percentage of gross is absurd. But that's another way to look at it. But let's move away from that, like we said, and move on with these, I would think, so we can get through the sheet here.
So you want to do a quick vote on that line item so we as a board can tell them what we want? Do we want to include a percentage or not?
We have to
You have
discuss.
to-
I mean, that way we can just break it down and move to the next paragraph, right, just move
Because
forward.
otherwise, I mean,
Just
if we
gonna go
leave here
back and-
tonight, Greg, and we don't have you're gonna come back
Just
and
each
discuss
piece,
it
we just kind of
tomorrow. We
agree.
need to make
It doesn't have to be a
decision.
formal vote on the
That would be a good
contract,
idea.
it's just,
Okay.
It would either put that off the table or make it a continuing item.
my last comment. Okay, never mind. On the percentage thing, we'll just stick with the percentage thing. If,
Okay, so what would you,
do you want to pursue a percentage at all? Or take it off the table in this agreement?
I don't really want to pursue it at this time, but
You,
that's
Greg?
just my opinion.
I've wanted to, but I think how much it is appropriate, and if it's gross or net, is a lot of discussion left. Not a lot, but I mean, some discussion left we haven't had yet, so I just don't want to say it's off the table, but I don't want to, you know, try to force a number or force a method either, right?
No, I got you.
I don't, you know, I don't know exactly, he said, we're saying if there's 25, 30,000 in real estate taxes, that is a pretty good chunk of tax. I'd certainly look for a much lower percentage for doing something like that, but I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to get something extra for the town. It's for the town.
For what?
If it's back in the, well, help keep
To our
taxes-
best knowledge, it's things we don't know yet. You assume there'll be no issues with police, you assume there'll be no,
The $30,000 is for that. That's, the HCA is really for that. We earmarked $5,000. So-
right, but when that was brought up, it was for extending education to the schools. Because we don't have a police officer that's currently assigned just for school educational activities. It was not for any additional officers that we may end up needing if we end up finding that over time it does create some type of concern for the town. Which I cannot tell you what that would be right now.
I can't either.
But I can tell you there's a faction in town that may present to us that issue. And
What's
we
that?
have to present and spend administrative time and effort to resolve their concerns.
What's their concern?
They've been in the meetings, we've had
So
True
they
Drug and
can-
people bringing up concerns
and you know my
that we will have to spend time addressing that we did not factor into any of this.
Such as? So here's my problem. You're
Congregation
no, no,
of people or things like that.
no,
That's,
you're-
I'm just
you're-
saying, I don't know.
I understand, but you're saying we should pay you money just in case something happens. That
No,
is
because I know there will be
incredibly
administrative
inappropriate.
efforts that need to be addressed that we're not seeing right now.
You
We
know
have
that.
no bylaws in place
That's
for
got nothing to
any
do with
effort
us.
for
You
you
should
to
have done
register
that
with this town.
years ago. You
And
never
what
have
I'm
to do
saying
that
is we didn't, so that's the
regardless of
0.25%.
You would have to do that regardless
That
of
is the
us.
point of the host community agreement, and that's what I brought up when I said I wanted one. We don't have bylaws in place, this is our way to put a bylaw in place.
So when you get bylaws and someone else comes in, you're not gonna do that with them?
We could revert to a bylaw that may or may not apply at that time.
I don't even know what that means.
If we write up a bylaw that says if we're
So-
gonna have another dispensary, and every dispensary in town will give us 2%, I'm just saying, we could do that, or a
You could
fee
certainly
for
write
applying
a
for
bylaw
the.
that parodies this.
I'm not
without
trying
the
to
name of
be-
CPC in it, and it could apply to any other
I'm just saying,
similar
we-
company and make a set of rules out of this. I mean, that would certainly be a smart basis to make a bylaw, if you follow what we do for agreements.
I
It
mean-
does apply to everybody equally. But,
I just want to tell you, I am doing my best without knowing all of the things that may come up. I believe a 1/4% was way fair when recognizing the other percentages, the size of the other facilities, and the potential, and again, reading across market, so I wasn't just pulling this out of nowhere, I was looking at other agreements. I didn't think 1/4% was at all close to a bad number to put out there and say, I think that's a fair, consistent with the industry request. And that's why I put it out at 1/4 and not 2, hoping to land at a 1/4. I thought it was a low number because you're talking about a 7,500 canopy square foot area. We did limit your walk-up service. I'm not expecting you to get a crazy amount of gross revenue compared to some other facilities in the state. So it's still just a percentage. I mean, whether it's smaller or bigger, but I recognize it affects when you got a real tight budget, that percentage seems like it has a bigger effect. So I thought 1/4% isn't that big a deal to ask, knowing that there will be other things we have to address that we just don't even know about today.
What if we went down to 25 grand plus the 0.25% gross revenue?
See,
I would assume.
he seemed to,
I would assume
be
they
opposed to
have,
the
they have a
whole-
target on sales. They must have an idea of, well, I'd be surprised if they don't with 75, I would bet they know pretty
An idea.
solidly what's gonna be produced for that volume and that method. It's probably tried and true, and proven in other places. And I would be surprised if they don't have a very good idea of exactly how much product they can produce and how much THC can be produced and the value of those things. So I would expect they have a pretty good estimate on, or they should, to open this business, on their expected revenues. And as far as their expected costs, construction costs are relatively predictable, employee costs are gonna be set by them. So I think they have an idea of where they're gonna stand. And I think they'd have an idea of how they're gonna allocate that cost over the years or charge against the first year of business and make no money their first year. But only, we don't know that. But I am sure Dean has an idea of what volume of product he's gonna produce and what methods of sale of that product, whether it's an MIBs or it's straight THC liquid or smokable marijuana. I don't know how that breaks down, but I'm sure he does, and I'm sure he has an idea. And he could very, very quickly relate what those numbers are gonna transition to, 1/4%, you know, what it means dollar-wise.
and the last thing is, the reason I talked about splitting that 30,000 and letting you do 15,000 is when it comes to applying it to a caregiver, the municipality is gonna be in a real hard position to actually choose which caregivers we can give it to, just due to state laws and procurement and giving out money. But privately, you can choose the people you think need it the most, and caregivers, it's kind of a broad description of who's a caregiver, in a way. So if you want, you got people that would be caregivers, but they're in a situation they can't be because they can't afford to be, you guys can then almost build your market. And I don't mean that negatively, but
No, I know.
you can create the people that can then assist in providing that, your product, to the people that need it. We can't do that. We kind of get in the middle if we do that. So that's where I was saying that actually might benefit you, because you can actually help the people that need the help and then provide them the product they need.
But we have agencies.
But I can't. I don't think we can do
Yeah,
that.
we have agencies, though, that
Wouldn't
can
wanna
do
see
that
it
too.
used for anything else.
You know, our Board of Health, some of it goes to them and whoever.
But they can't give anything to a caregiver.
No, but they can run programs that can. So,
Could I say something?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just meant that
don't-
money gets eaten up
I
in
think this is probably
administration.
gonna be converted to a recreational marijuana facility within 3 years. And I think that's Mr. Ianto's intent. So I don't know if we should really belabor the agreement, or the terms. If that's of any value.
To go back to the 1/4%, if it was, and I know this number is probably modest, $1 million worth of gross would yield 2,500 in the 1/4%. So that, to give you an idea, the neighborhood you're talking. I mean, if they do 100 grand, that would bump it up to 250,000. 100 million.
$1 million, 1% is obviously 10,000, so 1/4%, yeah, 2,500. It's not a large sum of money at all. That's why
At
I
that
said,
level.
that's why I said, 1 or 2% or something like that would be something in that.
Well,
But, that was thinking towards, something that would be towards total town revenues. I don't know if that's properly
Alright.
applicable that way, but that's what I was thinking.
I'm willing to drop that. I just needed to state my position why. I still think, okay, yeah, if we drop that, we gotta stick with the 30,000 coming to the town.
And
We gotta,
2 out of 3 are dropping it no matter what, so we don't need to discuss it
Yeah.
anymore. Let's
No.
get on to something else.
I think the issue of what you do with that 30,000 and how you do it is still gonna be an issue. I mean, how you do it, who handles it, who makes the decision? Does it go to people that are caring for someone that's being given medical marijuana?
Right now, it
Does
just
give
goes
us
to
a-
the
That's
general
not-
fund and we
Yeah,
put it
that's
where
it.
we want.
Yeah, but that's not
Based
your
on a
client's
sole
problem.
discretion thing, it just
Right.
becomes a general
Yeah.
fund thing we
Right.
allocate.
Jim, I got a theoretical question, and one I just happen to think of as I'm sitting here. And really kind of exempt from disagreement, but can a municipality actually, under current law that you're aware of, have an agreement based upon, it's like an income tax for a municipality is assessing here. It's not a thing based upon cost or cost recovery, it's a percentage of the gross. I look at that and say, that's kind of like an income tax, do you know what I'm saying?
It's like a payment in lieu of taxes.
And we can't,
Yeah, it's a payment in lieu of taxes.
your payment in lieu of tax, or whatever you call it. In Massachusetts, we can't do that. A municipality cannot assess an income tax.
Well, payment
Well,
in lieu of
that's
taxes
why we're not
is-
calling it an income
Yeah,
tax.
payment in lieu of taxes
No, but a
is-
percentage of the gross is,
Payment in lieu of taxes is a procedure or
yep,
an avenue that's available. It is unenforceable.
yeah,
In other words, you reach your agreement with your whatever business, whatever it is, and they say, we'll pay you in lieu of taxes this amount. Well, usually it's because they're not gonna have to pay you anything because they're exempt. So they're voluntarily agreeing to say, we'll pay you this much.
okay.
And the town says, or the
Yeah.
city says, geez, we're glad to get it from you. And the origin of it was, you know, like Boston, Worcester, Springfield, because of all the nonprofit,
Yep.
mainly colleges in their cities.
Right, but they're not taking a percentage of their gross.
No, they're coming up with some
Some-
number.
Right.
that they
When I say you
negotiate.
start doing that, then, you know, like there've been towns that have gone to the legislature
these
and
are-
asked for,
Well,
Most
I'll go one
community
step
agreements refer
further.
to the gross.
I think.
What?
Percentage of gross thing probably is gonna be authorized by what was passed for the recreational marijuana.
it might be, but it's not there now, right?
But that's where it's gonna be 8%.
Okay, that was my question, okay. So what do you gentlemen wish to do on this?
I would just move along.
Is the language, is there any issue with the language in number 2?
I thought that
I mean, I think it's.
I thought that
think
was
it's
fine how
okay.
it's written. It
Uh,
covers
I wanna
everything
see if I
2
can
and 4
speak
cover,
through
just
this,
in
what I
one
want.
paragraph.
And like I
See if
said,
they
we
can-
can revisit how we do that, we've got plenty of time,
45
because
minutes, hopefully, the
this
rest of
isn't
this is
written, you know, how it goes out isn't written in stone, so.
It may be that someone could come up with a little better way of doing that,
Right.
with the same spirit, the same intent.
It doesn't have to be part of this agreement, it could be a separate, you know,
Yeah.
document that says how the funds are gonna be dispersed, and we may know more
Okay.
at that point as to how.
Yeah,
how to do
we
that.
still don't know how it's
Unpaid
gonna
care
go.
of your
Outside of
risk.
the agreement, we might set up a charge to include a member of the CPC to be part of a group saying, this is how we'd like to
Right.
do this.
You could have people that are unpaid caregivers that are dealing with, you know, dialysis, nothing to do with cancer, nothing to do with
Right.
Right.
medical marijuana.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
Yeah.
They're still benefiting the
Yeah,
town
I
in
don't think
general
we
or
can-
the
I don't
public
think
in
there'd be any
general.
difficulty finding out ways to give the money away. That's not gonna be the problem.
The door is gonna be,
Yes,
Knocked
that's,
down.
that will rapidly vanish.
So, yeah, we got another meeting that's supposed to start 5 minutes ago. Do we think we can get through, the rest of this is almost very administrative type
well,
language.
let me ask this, does the board see anything in here, in Attorney Cranston's proposal, or with the comments that were made by Phil, that raise some big controversial issue that you think needs to be explored, you know, further than letting, authorizing Phil to sit down with myself and Paul and iron that out and bring it to you next Monday as a final product?
Yeah, there were things I wanted to discuss about here still.
Okay.
Like the null and void parts of the agreement. I mean, if things that could cause to be null and void.
What paragraph, Greg?
Yeah.
I guess
16.
we're in 16.
Yeah?
You know, in the event the Barry imposes any local license fee, registration fee, or moratorium specifically applicable to RMD operating in Barry, since we assume the moratorium's coming, because the planning board's already put this through, and we assume that recreational's coming, it would look like it's gonna automatically null and void this contract with that in there.
No, this is strictly medical stuff.
RMDs,
Right.
so.
Okay,
Right.
so even though they let the RMD start to sell recreational to the same facility, that's what I'm saying.
We'll be
They-
back here,
Okay.
Mhm.
so.
But you see what I'm saying? Initially, the moratorium, if the state says, okay, you guys are recreational now too, then our moratorium ipso facto is affecting it. I'm just looking for technicalities here.
Are you saying that includes reasonable administration fees for applications to, like the Board of Health may say?
Which one are we talking about, subsection?
About
The
the
16A.
About the fourth line.
16A?
Yeah, so
Oh.
if building and health code say you need to submit a $100 application fee with your, we're going to operate in your town and here's our business
Well,
plan,
I think
or
it's provided,
whatever.
however, that CPC shall be subject to such fees authorized under Apple Building and Health Codes in the same manner as any other
Yeah.
operation.
If the building inspector, commissioner, says to build this facility, there's a building fee, an electric inspector's fee, a gas inspector's fee.
That's exempt.
Those are
No,
all,
no.
those are all payable.
That's a
Don't-
caveat to the first section of that sentence.
Correct.
Yeah,
And that, what I'm saying is, we don't have those fees in place. And they're saying if we put those fees in place, and then we ask them to, that makes this null and void.
No,
I think the fees are in place.
Fees
As far as
are
what
in
they are.
place. You have to get wiring permit and all
Building.
They'll
that.
have to get a wiring, gas.
Board of Health has a fee for them
This
going
facility?
before them to say, here's who we are, here's what we do, and we're doing this?
we have to go in front of the Board of Health anyway, that there's some site.
Site assignment.
Site assignment, right,
And they'll have a
Okay.
fee to
yeah.
I just-
apply to that, which is nominal.
I just wanted to make sure if there was specific to this industry, because it was new to our town, not necessarily new to the state, I know, that that particular registration fee wouldn't be counted.
Right, and it won't.
That's
It's
all I
already
wanted to
there.
make sure.
Right, yeah.
So, like I said, if you authorize Phil and myself to meet with Paul, that kind of thing we could iron out. If we need to throw a couple extra
Yes.
words.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm trying to find where they were. A couple things. I don't see it, we talked about the location of the site. I'd just like to see that in the agreement
Location.
of the site, where we talked about, but it doesn't surprise me.
The
about somewhere
covenant
else.
was gonna call
Is that gonna be-
out something on the covenant, because
Well,
that's
the
a
covenant
separate
will-
along
Covenant will
with
address
it.
the
Correct.
site? Okay,
Yeah.
that was that.
Is the question
I had a list.
is, and I wouldn't mind you addressing this and just making sure it's there,
What's that?
is that if the host community agreement is somehow tied to that covenant under one of these recitals maybe or something, so that it identifies again,
You wanna
you're not gonna
reference-
move across town and just assume you can do it,
And that was a
because you're in the
lot-
same industrial type zone,
And
So you want the.
without coming before the town again and asking
You want
about
the
it.
covenant referenced in the host community agreement, as far as being applicable.
Yeah, and then the covenant might be the thing that states, the town agrees that you can put this here, and you agree no walk-up service, because I think that was generally what we're talking about, the covenant to have.
sites specific for the location and no walk.
And you have a copy of that, yes?
I
I recall the original, yeah,
My last concern was number 8. Barry shall support CPC's application for registration, RMD, by the DPH, and work with CPC to assist in securing. I don't know what you're looking for from us in assistance in applying for registration.
letter of
Other than-
non-opposition.
Yeah, I think that's basically what you're asking for there, isn't it? Just a letter of non-opposition?
Well, that's part of the letter of non-opposition, it's just saying that, yeah, you're support, if you're going to. if you're
Non-opposition
going-
is different than assisting.
Well, the letter is either called a letter of non-opposition or a letter of support, whichever. I think, frankly, I think if the board
It's
is
just,
going to vote on that, I would think you'd look better if you did a letter of support, that you're supporting this facility rather than non-opposing it, if you're going through all of this.
It's kind of all the same to me,
Right,
right, I just say,
but I understand why they
assist sounds
do it
like
as
we'll
a
be making
perception.
phone calls for you to
Like
the
only
state to
the
try
state would have
get
a
the
letter of
registration through.
non-opposition.
Right.
I mean, it's
I
never
agree.
heard of
Only the
anything.
state.
The person
Never.
that came up with that language was paid a lot of money.
I
It's
know.
not my fault.
I know, no,
That's kind of what it feels like, but you're gonna, I'm just,
yeah, I know.
And they
It's-
probably went to a school that starts with an H
Okay.
down in Cambridge.
That could be, but
I
you know
would
the
be
answer.
willing-
You know the answer to people that claim they went to school.
That
I
was the
won't
last
hold
one
it
I wanted to
against
cover, that was,
I would
That's what
make a
happened to
motion to
Peterson.
authorize Jim to represent the town on our behalf regarding this
With Phil.
And Phil,
with Phil,
All right, there are some comments on the Webster.
without
agreement.
adding additional terms without our
Do you
knowledge.
want to hear his comments?
You know
on
what I
the
mean?
Webster
How,
agreement quickly, or no?
I think Phil's got a couple of comments that he wants you
Well,
to
I
hear
mean,
about.
if you take a look at numbers 16 and 17, if you want to keep that in the, or add that to the period agreement.
16 and 17 from Webster?
Yes.
yeah, you meet or exceed any other agreement you have in the state.
Oh.
What? I'm sorry.
Would you accept Webster's 16 and 17?
No.
You wouldn't accept 16?
In the event, no, absolutely not.
So if you do something somewhere else,
It's gonna be a completely different thing. We'll be doing apples and oranges. I don't want, we're doing a deal with you, we're doing it now. I'm not gonna, I don't want anything that says in 2 years we're coming back. Phil had indicated that he thinks it's going to be a rec facility and we'll be back in front of you in 3 years anyway. I don't wanna be back here in 2 years after that, 5 years for another one. Because this is a host community agreement for the purposes of, you basically said, we're not gonna give you that letter of non-opposition until you sign this. So we're doing an agreement or it's, we get that, we get this. So in 5 years, what's to prevent you from, I don't know, what happens if we don't agree in 5 years?
you have the right to tell us you want to quit operating in the
No, we're
town.
not gonna quit operating, absolutely positive.
So the agreement's there.
Huh?
Well, no, you're talking about number 17, come back in 5 years.
17.
But, well, it's either that or we gotta have some type of review to address in 5 years, 30,000 is not what it's gonna be now, and you know it. So we're not gonna take 30,000 forever.
I'm trying to think down the line. In
We could
5
just do a
years-
2% escalator forever as an inflation. Every year you go up 2%.
Hold on, if in 5 years we come back to the table, we're operating, everything's fine, we're giving you money, and you come back and you say, we want 10% and we want $100,000 every year, we're going to say no. What happens then? I don't need this host community agreement to operate, I'm already in operation. You can't shut me down. That's a ridiculous paragraph to put in there, whoever did that.
No, what that does is it allows somebody to say, let's get on the table and talk and be reasonable.
Okay, but
It doesn't mean that
But
it's
you
just
could
like
be
right now, we
completely
could walk away,
unreasonable.
you could walk away.
But you could be completely
But
unreasonable.
then, in the future, you could walk away, we could walk away. But we got an agreement in place. It doesn't mean the agreement, and I don't even know what legally we're allowed to do for how many years in an agreement like this.
Maybe renegotiate.
So that's
just-
something we'd have to rely on Jim to know the
Maybe.
understanding of how that works. There may be term limits on an agreement like this according to state regs.
And
We
it-
might have to revisit it every so many years.
Question about 16 too, we said, talk about things that could make it null and void. If this agreement should become null and void, does that mean that the facility ceases to operate? Or is it just, the agreement's
Well,
gone?
some of the
Well,
null and
look,
voids
if-
are,
if
it did
you
cease to
rescind your letter of
operate.
non-opposition, we're not operating. If you make if we make an assignment for general creditors, that means we're in bankruptcy and we're not operating. So it's by definition, they're generally in the situation where we're not operating. If we file for bankruptcy. If we don't locate in Barry.
If we put a fee in the future on it, or registration, or moratorium, then you're still operating.
Well, I think Jim kind of hit it here. This is an agreement, and therefore it's kind of not a contract. And what I mean by that is, if it ends up being interpreted as a payment in lieu of taxes, it's an agreement that, in a way, if they just walk away from the agreement, we're still kind of, am I wrong? We're just saying
That's-
they suck as business partners.
I was talking about mainly pilots at that point.
Okay.
But,
But I mean, I don't know how the state reviews a host community agreement with a,
They don't.
They probably won't even look at this.
that's my point. So if it becomes an issue that we're actually calling out on this and having to go to litigation, lots of things are gonna go and nobody's gonna like people on each side of the table. But it doesn't mean there's a lot of enforcement here. So we're trying to work on, do we agree? The truth is, do we agree? So we can move forward and be in agreement, not be fighting little clauses, because if we have clauses we're gonna fight on later, it's gonna be hard for either side to win that argument if they have to, I'm guessing. Because we're addressing a nonprofit company and we're in some gray area. So the intent here is to find agreement. And that's why I was willing to drop the percentage, because I understand, I'd prefer to say keep the percentage when, come back and give me a cap. But we're moving forward. So I don't know if there's much we need to add to it. I realize where you're at, but I would like something that say that we will revisit this valuation, whether it's in 3 years or 5 years, because you'll know how good of a standing your business is working. You're not gonna be questioning did it work or not. You've lost most of your risk because you know what's going on, and we're gonna know what the true value and the cost of the town are. And it may be something where 30,000 needs to go to 40,000.
Or it's too much.
And then we'll say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
You are awesome.
I hope it's too much.
Me
If
too.
it's too much,
Okay, well,
it probably will just fail anyway. I'm sorry, if what we're asking is too much, then you're gonna
No,
fail.
no,
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 too
no.
much in relation to,
He means the money they give is more than we need.
yeah, more
I'm
than we
hope-
need,
I'm
because
hoping
there
they
won't
give us
be
more than we
any
need, too.
police up there, there won't be any fire up there.
I
We pay
hope
our
that's the
taxes.
case.
you
I'll
love
justify
us.
a need. Just ask the other members of your capital planning board the needs to this town.
No, I meant in relation to my facility, not needs and things.
I know,
Needs
I'm
caused by-
It
just,
hasn't drawn upon the resources of the
Right,
town.
right.
yeah.
I got you,
Wait,
So-
before we leave, thank you for
We still
being
got-
patient with us.
yes.
We're closed Friday, Phil, right? You're not here?
I could be.
I have a date with my wife.
What about Thursday, which would be tomorrow? Tomorrow?
Oh, for the three of you.
Yeah.
Because we still gotta make the vote to officially say that, so I
Okay.
just don't want that to slip
Okay,
by.
we didn't get a motion.
I'd like to make a motion.
I did have a motion.
Hmm?
I did have a motion. You already
Who
made
did?
a motion.
Who made it?
I,
Matt
It just
did.
wasn't a second. I don't
Mystery
think.
person.
There was
Will
no
you second it?
I will second the motion then.
Okay.
Because we got back into it, is why we didn't second.
Further, yeah,
Circle back.
that was my fault. Further discussion? No. Hearing none, call for a vote. In favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you.
Yeah.
I make a motion to,
No, we can't, we're still in. I gotta talk to you guys about something.
I could still
outside.
leave.
Yeah, you could. But let me speak with you outside. We'll let these folks get started.
I was pretty lucky, I didn't confirm off, so it
So
never
we're
turned
still
off
in session
until now.
outside in the hall for a moment.
Just a
Okay.
moment.
Well, just so people know.
Yeah,
The select board meeting is moving to the hallway.
Closing meeting.
in the dark.
It'll still be very public.
Yeah, it's very public.
Be out there at the table in a minute.
Thanks again for your patience.
We'll take care, I'll take care of any minutes. I don't think there'll be much. Thank you, guys.
After the facility is built, we can hold selectmen's meetings down there.
You guys wanna come up, finance? That was capital.
Finance committee, so, here,
You're here.
we're here. We're here.
Yeah, yeah, he-
Wow.